The soup was hot enough to burn. It clung to my hair and dripped down my face, carrying with it the smell of lentils and betrayal. For a second, I didn't even understand what had happened, only that something deep and irreparable had cracked between me and my son. Jason stood there in front of me, his hands still trembling from the throw. His breathing was harsh, ragged, almost like he'd just run a mile. "You've got 10 minutes to leave," he said. His voice was flat, too calm for the rage behind his eyes. At first, I thought I'd misheard. Maybe he said something else. Maybe this was just another one of his outbursts. But then I saw the way his jaw clenched, the way his hands curled into fists. He meant it. Every word. The kitchen fell silent except for the faint ticking of the wall clock. 8:50 p.m. 10 minutes to leave my own house. "Jason," I began, my voice trembling, "what are you talking about? Leave. What's going on?" He didn't answer right away. His shoulders rose and fell with each breath. Then, slowly, he pointed to the suitcase sitting by the door. "My suitcase. I packed your things," he said. It felt like someone had taken a knife and cut the air out of my chest. "You, what?" He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes that chilled me to my bones. Hatred. But behind it, something even more painful, hurt. "You've been lying to me my whole life," he said, voice shaking. "You don't deserve to stay here." "Lying," I echoed. "Jason, what do you mean?" He didn't answer. Instead, he slammed his fist against the counter. The sound echoed through the kitchen. My coffee mug tipped over, spilling cold liquid across the tiles. "Don't play dumb," he shouted. "You know exactly what I'm talking about." I stepped back, instinctively raising a hand to my chest. His outburst wasn't new. Jason had always had a temper when he was younger, but never like this. Never directed at me. He turned away, grabbing something from the table. It was his phone. He threw it on the counter in front of me. The screen was lit with an image, a photograph. For a heartbeat, I didn't recognize it. It was old, grainy, maybe 20 years ago. Me, in a hospital gown, cradling a newborn. Jason. But the hospital bracelet around my wrist had a name that wasn't mine. And beneath it, the caption, "I found the truth." The world seemed to tilt. My stomach dropped. My throat went dry. "Where did you get this?" I asked quietly. "From someone who actually tells the truth," he said bitterly. "From the man you told me never wanted me. My father." I felt dizzy. I gripped the edge of the counter just to keep myself upright. "Jason, no, don't," he snapped. "Don't lie to me again." He showed me everything. Letters you never sent. Photos. Birth records. "He's been looking for me since I was born. You made him think I died." The words hit me like blows. It wasn't true, not entirely. But how could I explain it to him now, in this storm of anger? "Jason, listen to me," I said, forcing calm into my voice. "There are things you don't understand. Your father, he wasn't a good man back then. I left because I had to protect you." He laughed, a cold, hollow sound that didn't belong in his voice. "Protect me. You stole my life." He began pacing the kitchen, running his hands through his hair, the way he did when he was overwhelmed. "All those years, you said he walked out on us. That he didn't care. I hated him because of you." Tears stung my eyes. "I was trying to save you from his temper, from his drinking." "Stop," he shouted. "You're still doing it. You can't help yourself, can you? Always trying to twist everything to make yourself the hero." His words pierced through me. Because deep down, there was truth in them. I had lied. I had kept his father's letters hidden. I'd burned some of them, too afraid that Jason might want to go back, that he'd see the man I once loved and believe in the illusion of change. I told myself it was for his safety. Maybe it was. But it was also for my own fear of losing him. Jason's voice broke through my thoughts. "You've got 10 minutes to leave, Mom. Or I'll call him. He's coming to get me anyway." He meant it. I could see that now. My heart raced as I looked around the room, the chipped cabinets, the old clock, the window with the view of the street where he learned to ride his bike. Every inch of this house was soaked with our memories. Every corner carried laughter, scraped knees, late-night talks. And now, it was just walls. Empty walls. "Jason," I whispered, stepping closer. You're my son. No matter what you think I've done, I love you. I've always loved you. Love. He turned to face me, eyes wet but defiant. If you loved me, you would have told me the truth. The sound of rain began against the windows, soft at first, then harder. Thunder rumbled somewhere in the distance. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. There were no words left that could undo 20 years of silence. Jason looked at the clock. You've got 5 minutes. He picked up my suitcase and set it near the door. The gesture was almost mechanical, like he was trying not to think about what he was doing. His jaw quivered. He turned away so I wouldn't see his tears. I wanted to hold him. To tell him everything, the fear, the violence, the night his father almost killed us both. But that would sound like another lie to him now. And maybe, in his eyes, I had lost the right to tell the truth. I took a deep breath and walked toward the door. Each step felt heavier than the last. When I reached for the handle, I turned back one last time. Jason was standing in the middle of the kitchen, shoulders hunched, head down. He looked small again, like the little boy who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. I'm sorry, I said softly. He didn't respond. The soup on the floor had dried, leaving dark stains across the tiles. The smell lingered in the air, bitter and sad. I opened the door. The night air hit my face, cool and sharp. It carried with it the faint scent of rain-soaked earth, the kind that always reminded me of beginnings and endings. As I stepped outside, lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the driveway where I had once watched Jason take his first steps. I set the suitcase down and looked back one last time. Through the kitchen window, I could still see him, standing there, staring at the empty space where I had been. For a moment, I thought I saw him take a step toward the door. But then he stopped. The door closed behind me with a dull click. And just like that, I was no longer a mother in a home. I was just a woman standing in the rain, carrying a suitcase, 1,000 memories, and a truth that had finally caught up with me. The motel room was small, the kind of place where the wallpaper peeled at the corners and the hum of the air conditioner never stopped. It smelled faintly of bleach and loneliness. I sat on the edge of the bed, still in the same clothes, my suitcase untouched beside me. My hair was stiff with dried soup. My hands trembled when I tried to clean it, but eventually, I just stopped trying. Outside, rain fell against the window in steady sheets, blurring the neon lights from the diner across the street. The noise filled the silence I couldn't bear. I kept seeing Jason's face in my mind, the fury, the betrayal, the tears he tried to hide. Every second replayed like a cruel movie I couldn't turn off. My own son had told me to leave. And I had. But the thing that hurt most wasn't the shouting, or even the words. It was the silence that came after. The silence that said more than anything, he doesn't trust you anymore. I picked up my phone. I had no messages, no missed calls. Just the photo of me and Jason when he was little, his first day of kindergarten. He had a missing front tooth and a backpack twice his size. I remembered the way he'd squeezed my hand and whispered, "Don't go too far, okay?" Now, he was the one sending me away. Tears finally came, silent and hot. They rolled down my cheeks and soaked the cheap motel blanket. I pressed my hands to my face, trying to muffle the sobs, but it was no use. The grief came like a flood. How had everything gone so wrong? I'd spent 2 decades trying to give him a good life. Working late shifts at the diner. Skipping meals so he could have new shoes. Smiling through exhaustion. And yet, all of that love, all of that sacrifice, had collapsed under the weight of one truth I had buried too deep. I thought I'd done the right thing. Back then, Mark, his father, was a different man. The kind of man who charmed everyone but scared me when no one was looking. The drinking had changed him. The shouting, the broken glass, the bruises hidden under long sleeves. I ran the night I found him standing over the crib, eyes bloodshot, muttering things that didn't make sense. I didn't want Jason to grow up in that house. I didn't want him to remember the man I saw that night. So I left, changed my name, started over. But Mark hadn't stopped looking for us. I knew that now, and somehow, he'd found Jason first. The thought made me feel sick. I lay down, staring at the ceiling. The rain kept falling, steady as a heartbeat. Somewhere deep inside, a voice whispered that maybe I deserved this. That maybe lies, even when told for love, always find their way back home. At 3:12 a.m., my phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. He wants to meet you. I froze. My chest tightened. I didn't need to ask who he was. My hands shook as I typed. Me. Where? The reply came instantly. Tomorrow. Noon. The old pier. The old pier. The one where Mark and I used to go before everything went wrong. Where we'd watch the boats and talk about the future we thought we'd have. I stared at the message for a long time, the blue light of the screen casting shadows across the room. My heart raced with dread, fear, and something I couldn't quite name. Hope, maybe. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. By morning, the rain had stopped, leaving behind a gray sky that hung low and heavy. I stood by the mirror, trying to make myself look presentable. My hands shook as I brushed my hair. The reflection that stared back looked older than I remembered, tired eyes, lines around the mouth, a sadness that clung like a second skin. I didn't know what to expect. When I arrived at the pier, the wind was cold and sharp, carrying the smell of salt and rust. The old wooden boards creaked beneath my feet. I stood near the railing, staring out at the gray water. Then I saw them, two figures walking toward me. Jason, and beside him, Mark. My breath caught in my throat. He was older, of course. His hair was streaked with gray, his face more lined, but those eyes, those piercing blue eyes, were exactly as I remembered them. Eyes that could be tender one moment and terrifying the next. Jason stopped a few feet away. His expression was guarded, but softer than last night. "Mom," he said quietly. "This is Dad." Mark nodded once. "Hello, Sarah." The sound of my old name, the one I hadn't heard in decades, hit me like a ghost. For a long time, none of us spoke. The waves slapped against the pier, gulls cried overhead. The silence between us was heavy, thick with memories and things left unsaid. "You told him everything?" I finally asked, my voice barely a whisper. Jason's jaw tightened. "Everything you didn't." Mark took a slow step forward. "You should have told me I had a son, Sarah." I took a shaky breath. "And you should have told me you would stop hurting people before it was too late." His expression faltered. "That's not fair. I was sick. I was broken. You were dangerous," I said sharply. My voice cracked, but I didn't care. "You don't get to rewrite that." Jason's eyes darted between us, confusion and pain etched across his face. "So what's the truth? Who am I supposed to believe?" I looked at him, at the boy who had once thought I could fix anything. "Both of us," I said softly. "Because both of us are telling the truth, and both of us are guilty." He frowned. "Guilty." I lied, I admitted. "I told you your father didn't want you. That was wrong. But I did it because I was scared. The night I left, he wasn't the man you see now. He was drunk. Angry. He smashed the lamp, screamed that he'd rather see us gone than see us leave. I ran because I thought he might hurt you." Jason's lips parted slightly. His eyes searched mine for something, proof, maybe. Mark lowered his head. "I don't remember everything about that night," he said quietly. "But I remember waking up to find you gone. I got sober because of that. Because of you both. I've been looking for you ever since." A gust of wind swept through, lifting Jason's hair. His face softened for just a moment before he looked away. "I don't know what to do with all this," he said, his voice breaking. "Everything I believed, everything I hated, it's all mixed up now." "I know," I said. "You don't have to choose between us. You just have to know we both loved you, just in very different, very broken ways." Mark nodded slowly. "She's right." Jason looked between us again. His anger seemed to fade into something else, weariness, maybe. He rubbed his eyes, exhaled, and said quietly, maybe we start over." The words hung in the air, fragile but real. For a long time, none of us moved. Then I felt something shift. The wind calmed. The sea grew still. Mark gave a small nod, a silent truce. Jason took a hesitant step toward me. I could see his hands shaking. And then, suddenly, he was in my arms. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. His shoulders shook as he cried into my neck, and all I could do was hold him the way I did when he was little. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "For everything. He didn't answer right away, but after a long silence, I heard him whisper back, "Me too." When he pulled away, there were tears in both our eyes, but also something else. Understanding. Mark watched us quietly, his face unreadable, then turned toward the sea. The clouds began to part, and a thin ray of sunlight fell across the water, lighting up the gray into silver. It felt like the world itself was letting out a sigh. For the first time in years, I didn't feel afraid. We stood there together, mother, father, and son, broken people trying to mend the pieces. And as the light warmed my face, I realized something: 10 minutes had destroyed us. But now, maybe, we had forever to rebuild.